Your thoughts on Seb Quirk, who obviously can't play in the FA Cup replay, but got 90 minutes under his belt as an Accrington player at the weekend. How pleased were you with him?
It's difficult for him because he barely touched the ball and we were 2 goals down. So the ball just didn't seem to go on that side of the pitch for long periods. And so it's difficult to gauge him as a wing back. I know he's played there before and we wanted to have a strength in there. But when he went into midfield, he showed some good touches, handled the ball well, passed it well. And I think he's going to be a good signing for us.
One player who did get some game time that we've not seen for a long time was Michael Nottingham. End of April was the last time he played for you. Was that a bright spot on a pretty gloomy day?
Very much so, yeah. You know what you're getting off Michael. The just question now is his fitness and you know how many minutes we can get into.
How important an influence is he, aside from the football ability that he brings?
He's just a great human being. He's a brilliant man, great to have around the place, brightens up your day every time you see him, and it's great to have him on the pitch, and he's a very, very good footballer. And no surprise that he was involved in our goal. So I can't speak highly enough of him as a man and as a footballer. And he's been one of the best signers we've made.
He was, I think, the next cab off the rank in terms of the long injury list. How are you looking with a couple of the others that were towards the nearer end? I know Mo Sangare was probably back in training.
Mo's not far away now. And then it's just a case of waiting on Mitch and Seamus. I think Coley will be a little bit longer than them. Obviously Joe's out for the season, Jay Rich is out for the season. Matt Lowe, we possibly get him back in maybe 6 weeks. Dave Morgan, I'm not sure we'll see him this season. So, you know, I feel for the lads who are injured because they don't get injured on purpose. And they can quickly be forgotten. They don't get forgotten by me, but they can quickly get forgotten. But the harsh reality is you have to focus on what you've got and how you're going to use them and how you're going to utilise them. With the games coming thick and fast, and so that is at the forefront of our mind.
Clearly anything you do in terms of recruitment can't have an impact on an FA Cup replay, but is that ongoing? Are you prepared to leave it as late as necessary to get what you need this window?
I've got to get them right. I got too many wrong in the summer, and that's no disrespect to the players who are signed. It's just that they weren't ready to play League One football, and a lot of them we tried to sign with a view to looking at the longer picture or the long game. But then the raft of injuries meant that they were going to have to be called upon, and we just couldn't use them because they weren't up to speed.
So, an FA Cup replay at the second time of asking against a National League opponent. I suppose the only thing that's changed since you were preparing for this game a week ago is that you now know that the winner will play Leeds United. You now know that game will be on the television, which means there's a potential, I think it's £110,000 extra money to go into the kitty. Does all this just raise the stakes for both teams?
I think it does, you know, like a bounty on your head, isn't it? It's probably financially the most rewarding game that potentially rewarding game that we'll have played since I've been at the club. So the stakes financially is very high, but it's not all about that. You know, when you're playing a game, you're not thinking about the money. You're thinking about winning the game, and if you don't think about winning the game, you shouldn't be playing the game.
I suppose it's something you deal with afterwards. If you bank the money, you can try and spend it. Is it important you try and keep that out of players' heads, that players don't think about we could be playing Leeds United, we could be playing a Premier League team, the club could be signing players as a result?
I mean, if they've got any ambition about them and if they've got any character about them, they want to have a big game against Leeds. Who wouldn't? I'm sure Luke will be having the same conversation with his players. You know, there is a big prize and it's a great tie. You know, and they had the fortune to go to Everton last year. I was actually at the game. I took my grandson. I think I mentioned that. And so we'll want to do that again. He'll want the thrill of that. And obviously, he'd have the thrill of bringing a Premiership team to to Boreham Wood, which is a difficult place to go to, as we found out a couple of weeks ago. So, you know, people have spoke about the draw to me numerous occasions, and I keep saying the same thing, and I'm not trying to be clever or anything. You know, we've got Boreham Wood in the draw. Leeds will wait. We haven't got anybody but Boreham Wood, and Boreham Wood haven't got Leeds. We haven't got Leeds. We've got each other, and we've got to try and overcome that first. And there's no point getting too far out of yourselves, because it can often lead to bitter disappointment.
It's an unusual situation to have a replay that gets postponed and you have to wait, and you're then in the week of the next round. You have done it before though, haven't you? I think it was 2009-10 when you played Gillingham in a replay that was postponed, and you went on to host Fulham in the fourth round.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of them things. You know, you can't govern the weather. Thankfully, the snow's cleared. Our pitch looks great. But you know, we know what challenges that will come across with Boreham Wood. They know what challenges they'll come across with us. We'd like to think we'll give a better account of ourselves than we did on Saturday at Barnsley. It's a double-edged sword with them. They haven't played for a while because of postponements, so you think that they're fresh. But I've been in that situation. You can also be rusty. So whether that's an advantage or a disadvantage, you'll know probably at 9:15 tomorrow night.
You've certainly been a lot busier games-wise, haven't you? I know you always say you'd rather have games. When players have got miles in their legs, though, is that a consideration compared to 2 weeks without a game?
Possibly not. We've got to improve our running stats than what we had on Saturday. That is an absolute certainty we've got to. And if we don't, we won't be hosting Leeds. We'll be sitting watching Boreham Wood and Leeds. So the first thing we've got to do is up our running stats, and the players will be left in no uncertain terms about that.
Is this another one of those, not necessarily a reset, but a bit of a reality check that you've had a couple of times where those fundamentals have to be there?
Well, you know, it has to be a reset. You know, we had the players in watching the video. They know it's not acceptable. You don't have to tell me it's not acceptable. I see with my own eyes, and then when you see it again, I'm annoyed, disappointed, all the above, but I'm really disappointed for the fans, because our fans were brilliant at Barnsley. You know, you've seen it for yourself, and they were great, and they deserve more than that, than an insipid performance for the first half hour, which ends up taking the game away from you. And it's daft, really, because I've never felt out of a game. Yet if someone had offered me 3-1 at 20 minutes, 20 past 3 on Saturday, I'd have probably snapped their hands off. And we know we're better than that. The players know they're better than that. And it's just got to be a case of focusing on the job in hand and trying to get a difficult job done.
You can give a tangible reward to those supporters. The majority of your fans will be here because it's a home game. Is that as big a motivation as the financial side of it, and the getting into to do it for the supporters and say, have another game, play a Premier League team on Saturday?
For me, it is, yeah. And, you know, they want them days. They haven't had enough of them. We haven't been fortunate with cup draws in the past, but they haven't had enough of them days, for my liking anyway. And hopefully we will give them that day.